What's up, everybody? So I was going to do a live stream kind of notifying everybody of some things that I've heard from some of the trusted prophetic voices that I follow concerning Apostle Joshua Giles, and I can't remember who the other one was off the top of my head at this moment, but prophesying of some coming blackouts. And the U.S. just warned us just a few days ago that 17 states power grids were vulnerable or something like that. And so I was going to do a video talking about these prophetic words, because I was noticing that several of the prophets that I follow, like Apostle Giles, were prophesying of these blackouts, like as if they're getting ready to happen. And so Apostle Giles, in his video the other day, talked about a little different variation than what I've heard. But he mentioned that some areas are going to be without power for a few weeks. Now, he also is one that wrote the book on the next 10 years about what the Lord showed him about things that are coming to the United States. He's the one that prophesied you will not even recognize your country in the coming days. So the timeline of when all this stuff is going to take place is obviously kind of up in the air. That's where, oftentimes the prophetic has its struggle, is in timelines. Hopefully we learned that in 2020 when, everybody prophesied that Trump was going to be reelected. And then, of course, it didn't happen in the timeline that most expected it to happen if it was true. But today, in fulfillment of one of his prophetic words, that the new form of terrorism is going to come in the form of hacking. Now, there's some unverified reports, but I'm going to read you a verified report. Today, just a few hours ago, the State Department and U.S. Department of Justice and FBI announced that Chinese state-sponsored hacking group targeted and broke into sensitive government systems, including NASA, the Federal Reserve, the Department of Justice, the Department of Energy, the U.S. Senate, health agencies like the National Institute of Health, and so on and so forth. Now, this has actually been going on for several years. And what's interesting about that is that's exactly what prophesied. Thank you. I was wondering who it was that I had heard prophesying about this. So it was Joseph Z and Apostle Joshua Giles that I've seen. Thank you, Steve. The two prophets that I mentioned in the beginning of this video that I follow, and I said I couldn't remember who the second one was. That's who it was for sure. So, I don't know, and remember what I said about the unverified reports, and I'm gonna I don't know what this individual is speaking about, but I just got an inbox from somebody saying, not sure if you've been hearing about the long blackout times and a few mentioning bank accounts being wiped out. But I don't know where that information is coming from. If that's prophetic or if that's news that's already broken, I don't really know. I haven't followed up with that individual, but it was just interesting timing that this was sent to me 18 minutes ago, and I was already planning on going live to tell you guys about this. So Apostle Joshua Giles once again prophesied and wrote in his book that in the coming days, the new form of terrorism would not come in the form of, what we have historically um, seen. Well, what's interesting, I don't know much about your situation, to be honest with you, but I'll tell you this. One of the uh, platforms that I use very frequently was completely offline today globally. And so that was an interesting thing. And we've seen, guys, a lot of these blips and what we call prophetic tremors of the things that have been prophesied happening on a smaller scale. But this news that a Chinese state, let me get the wording correct here. A Chinese state-sponsored hacking group targeted and broke into NASA, the Federal Reserve, the Department of Justice, Department of Energy, U.S. Senate, National Institute of Health, and other health agencies in the U.S. This is ridiculous. But once again, we need to be in prayer because they have several things that are planned. I wonder, to be quite honest with you, didn't Kim Jong-un just come out and say that they condemn our assault on Iran just yesterday? I'm wondering if this is interesting timing. Did China or Kim Jong-un condemn the United States sanctions or attack on Iran yesterday or today? I thought I read something recently about
China
that.
strongly condemned.
Yeah, I know they've condemned it. Okay.
However, Kim Jong-un
Over the last 48 hours. Yep. August 25th and 26th. So, yeah. So that's what's interesting about all this is I think the timing of this is very interesting. And I'm wondering if they just pulled the Trump card. You know what I mean? I'm wondering if they just pulled the Trump card to release this information. It was probably already known. So now that China is, condemning our response to Iran, maybe they decided to go ahead and release that Trump card at this point to get the world in their eyes on the illegitimacy or the war crimes of this government. So nonetheless, here is the simple form summary of the reason that this broadcast is even coming. Number one, God is doing what he said he was going to do. He's prophesied the things that we're seeing, that we've seen blips of, that we've seen tremors of, but more than just the fulfillment of prophecies coming to pass, various things like the prophetic wealth transfer, like the preparation that we should be doing to prayerfully consider what our moves might be. I've also heard the water shortages, by the way, prophets speaking about water shortages, and they're already saying, and I just heard this today or yesterday, that there's already some sort of like water shortages that is manifesting. And I don't know what that's about, but I just heard that today or yesterday. And I can't even fathom how that even could be a reality. I don't get it. It's way beyond like my scope of even understanding. But the reality is that I trust the prophets of God. I've been trusting them for years, and many people have, seen the content and then just glossed over and glanced over, and that's fine until the rubber meets the road and things begin happening. And then my concern is that everybody's going to want to then bum rush all the people that have been trying to inform, all of us for quite a long time now. And so, I've read, I'm sorry, not read. I've seen some also prophetic words about some challenges. Okay. Challenges coming. Terrorism is not just going to be coming in the form of hacking. I want you to understand that it's also still prophesied that there would be a bit of civil unrest in various parts of the country. Now, a lot of this is going to take some time to develop, guys. We're not going to be necessarily seeing everything that I've just spoken of and what the prophets have been talking about happening tomorrow. And I think we've kind of already learned that from people who may have even seen glimpses of these things that I was sharing even a couple of years ago. In fact, it was 2 years ago, almost to the day, that God gave me my first dream that caused me to begin to come out and to begin to share that the Lord had spoken to me and told me that XRP was getting ready to take off. And, I did the unthinkable. I maximized my positions in that coin because of the dream that I had, even so much where I leveraged debt to get into it. And of course, we saw the coin go up over 500% in just a few months. Then you had the critics, the haters, the scoffers, the mockers, the naysayers that were always present to ridicule and say that God would never do such a thing, and so on and so forth. And so not only has he done it, and not only has he continued to do it, even when he told me to sell it all last year because a crash was coming, and voila, it's just been an incredible journey, and it's not over. It's only getting started. I don't know where you're at. I don't know what your plans are and what your intentions are, but if you want to follow, the prophetic wealth transfer, at least the things that we talk about inside my private community, of course, the link is in the description section below. We've got one coin right now that I just posted about inside my private community that I am just shared because we're getting very, very close to the price point that I saw several months ago. And it looks to be like it's about to be another fulfillment. And so, it's just, we're continuously seeing the intervention of God. Now, people often they ask the question, what does funds or prophetic wealth have to do with Chinese hacking? I had a prophetic word over my life by a prophet that said that in the coming days, people will not be able to afford the time that they live in, the season that they live in. There is prophesied a coming global economic catastrophe. I remember, if you listen to the prophetic word by David Wilkerson, I haven't listened to the whole thing. I think it's pretty long. I think he even put it into a book. There's a segment in there where he says that just when you begin to see, the Supreme Court ruling on things that would make it appear like we are returning to our moral compass, pertaining to, various things that have to do with, righteousness and Christian personal convictions. He says, just when you think, or just when you see that happening, he says, I see that the enemy is, going to attempt to try to release all hell on earth. And he also mentioned that there would be a global financial economic collapse that would begin, he said, in Germany and then Japan. Now, I looked up Germany, and it did say, just upon my very limited understanding of, and even doing just probably an AI Google search or something, that Germany has struggled in their economy in recent years. But it didn't really signify, at least upon my research, that it was like what he was prophesying about. But we did, however, see the Japanese yen that was about to collapse, it seemed. And then we began to try to prop it up with a toothpick, where the United States sold some euros and then bought a bunch of yen in order to try to, prop that thing up, because there is such a connection to one economy affecting another, it's like a domino effect. And so, Brendan Biggs prophesied that Trump would prop up the economy for a season, and it would do very, very well. But at the end of the day, it would still be a pig with lipstick. And so here's the reality, is that it's been prophesied. We're actually getting ready to see that section of the economy even being propped up. We could already be walking in it right now, but I believe we're going to potentially see I had one prophet mention over the next 6 months. Over the next 6 months, we're going to have an economic boom. But that's, presumably going to be short-lived. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I do know that many of these things that we're seeing, these, blips and prophetic tremors concerning, are indeed happening, these fulfillments of prophecies. And so be in prayer, be watchful, be alert. Don't go to sleep in a season where God is releasing incredible prophetic insight. That being said, guys, I just wanted to jump on here and share this brief tidbit with you about China. Basically the news breaking of the fulfillments of these prophetic words that I've been sharing with you guys for at least the past, year or two on my channels, sharing these things with you. And so, when the prophets of God speak these things, and, we can turn a blind eye, we can ignore them. And then, of course, the news begins to break. This does not mean that this was the full scale. That's why we need to be in prayer, because this fulfillment is not the full scale. Okay. That being said, so yeah, all, investment stuff, guys, like the stuff that I'm doing, I talk about that's inside my private community. I've already, specified this numerous times. You, of course, do not have to be a part of that private community, but it is the place that we strategize and discuss and and share these types of things. And the reason is because, this is a journey, and we saw last year how you can't be half in this thing. The price was going up, God had spoken it, and then all of a sudden, like a switch, he began to show me that a crash was coming and selling everything. And if you're just kind of nonchalant, hanging around, dropping in every 6 months. That's why I established the private community, because this is a journey that requires journeying together. That being said, appreciate you guys watching. Please be in prayer for our country. Please be in prayer for our president. Please be in prayer for the world. God bless.